The Honest Garage Podcast, where real shop owners tell real shop stories.
Today on the Honest Garage Podcast, we're talking with a shop owner who built his business the hard way. One lift, one car, one long day at a time, and then had the courage to completely reinvent it later. Our guest is Collin Ettienne, owner of RI Automotive in Tampa, Florida. RI Automotive started 25 years ago in a storage unit with a single lift at a time when Collin was still working as a firefighter while wrenching nights and weekends. Today, it's a full-service, 6-bay shop with all the bells and whistles and plans to become bigger and better. For a long time, RI Automotive was about 70% performance work and 30% general repair. Big builds, go-fast parts, and the kind of projects that are fun for techs, but brutal for cash flow. Around 2018-2019, after attending industry events like Ratchet and Wrench and joining ShopFix Academy, Collin made a major pivot, flipping that ratio to build a sustainable general repair business that could actually support a team and a future. He'll tell you the hardest part wasn't the marketing or the numbers. It was letting go of the ego and no longer needing to be the guy who did it all or who chased every performance high that came through the door. Along the way, he's had to grow from tech to leader, learning to delegate, explain the why behind changes, implement short daily huddles and weekly shop meetings, and bring in pieces of EOS-style structure so as people know where they're going and why it matters. He's honest about the weight of having employees depend on him, the loneliness that can come with ownership, and the constant tension of finding staff who truly align with his standards and vision. In this episode, we're going to dig into how Collin went from a one-lift storage unit and a performance addiction to a steady, growing general repair shop, what he had to unlearn about ego and identity as a tech, and how he's building a team and a business that can stand on its own 2 feet. Collin, welcome to the Honest Garage Podcast. How are you today, sir?
David, doing great. It's Monday after holidays, so you can just imagine. We're here making it happen today. How about
Absolutely. So, yeah, doing great, man. Really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. I know that the time after the holidays can always be rough. Cold and flu season, travel, family season. It's always one thing after another. So thank you for taking the time to be on the show.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to start us off really with kind of a softball question we like to ask people when they get started. What's the dream car for you? What is that car that got you into the industry and trapped you here? Because it feels like we all have one.
What is the dream car? Okay. That's a loaded question.
Let's try not to offend too many people.
The dream car for me was a Mark IV Supra. Was fortunate enough to own one. Awesome car. Still love them. It was one of those deals. Had a mishap with it. Unfortunately, it's no longer here. As time goes on, we move on. But the new car on the sites, the dream car is, I would say, a Audi R8. That's on the list. There's something about it. It's just low key, but it gets the business done. It's not as loud as like a Lamborghini Huracan. Crazy enough they're on the same platform, but it gets the job done.
Yeah, it can blend in and stand out.
Exactly.
That's awesome, man. Take us back, if you will, to the beginning. I know you're 25 years into this now, but you started with a single lift in a storage unit, and while still working as a firefighter. Walk us through what that transition was like from where you started to where you're at now, and what did those early days actually look like? I don't know too many of our listeners or other guests have started out of a storage unit before.
So, yeah, it was pretty wild. So everybody's on this page. The firefighter deal that came about in about 2014. So I was quite a few years into already having my own business. But in the beginning, I started out young. I worked for a couple of dealerships, worked at a performance shop, and I just wasn't happy with the way things were being done. There was a lot of unethical practices going on at the performance shop that I worked at. The dealership, I just felt that same thing. People were getting taken advantage of. There was a loss of communication from what was going on to the shop to what the customer actually understood. So there was a lot going on. Always was passionate about the industry. So I was like, you know what? I could do this better. I can start my own shop. Just like probably a lot of technicians start out. So I was really good at fixing the cars. At the time, I didn't know anything about business, but just jumped in. It's like, all right, we got to find a place to do this. Found a storage unit, found a used lift, that I bought off of a local tool truck. And that's how we started. So we started back then working on Hondas, building Hondas, turbocharging them, doing all kind of crazy stuff. That's when the Honda scene was just starting to come around. That's when we started, and I kind of just snowballed from that.
Yeah, I know we mentioned in the intro that you guys were about 70% performance focused and then 30% on the general repair side. And you described the performance work like an addiction for you the last time we talked on the prep call. What was that like to step away from the performance side of things, or at least step back on it and make that pivot to flipping that 70-30 percentage? And how's that been for you since?
What did it was going to some conferences that were dedicated just for the general repair sector. I did tons of shows and outlets with the performance side of it, but never anything on the general repair. And I was very good at both. I understood both sides very well. And once I got into that environment, it was just like totally different. Guys look happy, at least they portrayed to be happy. Shops, but shops were profitable. They were doing well, they were making money. And I didn't realize how much support there was for the general repair side. Doing the performance stuff, a lot of it, I'll be transparent, a lot of it's ego driven. So you want to be the guy. You want to be the guy in town that everybody comes to. And with general repair, it's not really that. It's the shop. You're building the shop. The shop is a place people want to come to, not you as the individual. And once I grasped that whole concept, I was like, all right, we can do something with this. And now I have to figure out how am I going to get out of this industry that I've been in for so long and I'm so well known, and transition over not to the unknown, but this is different. So it's going to be a whole new clientele base, a whole new employee base. A lot of things were going to change. So that's how that whole transition started.
Yeah, in my experience, the performance side, the racing side it's personal. It's not all hobby driven, but it's big hobby behind it, and then money to be made there obviously as well. But on the independent auto repair side, the conferences, when you go to them, they're a lot more business focused. They're a lot more training focused and a lot more community focused. Like you mentioned, they're shop focused more than individual focused. And I think that transition it's challenging when you're a big racer. Do you still play in that community? Are you still doing performance stuff on your own? Or?
No, I had a car, got rid of it last March. I still got some buddies that are in it, but no, I pulled away from it. Just stay focused. I'm not saying that won't happen. We won't cross that bridge down the road, but right now, I'm just trying to stay focused, trying to grow this, get this location to capacity, and then we can start looking at acquisitions. That's the goal. The drag racing stuff was a distraction, so I had to park that for a little bit, for myself at least.
Yeah, and I think for our listeners out there, this is a really good point to drive home is what's the main thing? Focus on the main thing, because there's a lot of shiny objects in business and in life. And it's really hard to be a successful business owner when you're constantly distracted. So I think getting clear on the main thing, even if it means shelving the hobby a little bit for the short term so that you can have the long-term future that you're looking for, could be a really big step for a lot of people. So that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing. One of the things that you mentioned was that one of the biggest obstacles when you were going through the transition wasn't the market or the tools or the customer. You said that it was your own ego, and not a lot of people are willing to actually say that out loud. They're not willing to admit to that. I'm wondering if you're able to unpack that a bit for us. And what did that ego look like in the day-to-day behavior? How has that changed? What were the things that you started to do differently? And how would your team describe those changes in you now?
Yeah, that was a lot. It was it gets to a point where you're that person and you don't even realize it. Like subconsciously, you don't realize that you want to be the person. So you find all kind of ways to every part of business, you make it to where it depends on you. And subconsciously, you don't realize you're doing that. That was a big part of it. And then once I realized, I was like, hey, if we got to try to scale this, there comes to a point where you sit down and you look yourself in the mirror and you're like, you cannot do everything. So what are we going to do? If we're going to make money, we're going to have to give up the ego. If this shop has to grow, we have to give up the ego. So now it kind of transitioned into putting people in place to do those jobs and hold them accountable, make sure they're doing what they have to do, and you step back. And now you're like growing this team versus it being all about you. So like for me, that was tough just pulling back, putting people in place, and letting the shop do its thing. And there's times where, like they would say, you let it burn down, and not literally, but you let it happen before you jump in and try to save the day. And then now you're coaching, you're advising them on what went wrong and how can we fix it. So now you're, from a leader standpoint, it's totally different because I'm not the one fixing. I'm making you think on how did we get here, and now how can we fix this. So that was the big transition, and honestly, not caring. Like now, people look at RI Automotive like it's not Collin, and that's the big picture. That's what I want. Honestly, I don't want you to come looking for me anymore. It's RI Automotive as a whole. That's what we're trying to do, and that's my goal.
That's awesome, man. So I know that transition for a lot of people from being a tech into that leadership role, and it's not about Collin, it's about RI Automotive, like you said. That's brutal for a lot of people. It's really a hard transition. I know you started doing quick daily huddles, weekly meetings. You pulled some pieces out of EOS, the entrepreneurial operation or operating system, for those listening that aren't familiar with the acronym. And tell me a little bit about how your leadership style had to change and what you've learned about explaining the why behind those changes so that it's not just things are being pushed down on them.
There comes a time, I'm pretty sure every owner has been through this. You're wondering why things aren't getting done the way you want them to get done, or why do we have all this chaos going on in the business? And then you come to a point you realize there was no roadmap for your employees. First of all, what you thought in your head, you assume that's the same thing they're going to think. They're going to get it. And that's far from true. I think
Right.
Owners, we're guilty of thinking that people can read our mind and they know exactly what we're thinking. And no. So you have to have that roadmap. So for me, those huddles in the morning were imperative, having those. But just a quick deal, 5 minutes in the morning, just finding out where everybody's at, what they got going on, letting everybody know what we have coming in for the day. And now we have a game plan versus everybody just comes in and they do whatever they want. Appointments are showing up. Nobody knows what's going on, and you have chaos. So now it's not saying it's not chaotic, but now it's controlled. It's a controlled chaos. You know what you're getting into. Everybody has a good idea what's going on. And yeah, that was huge for us. Just having those quick 5 minutes. It doesn't take long. Everybody's involved, front of the house, back of house. And we sit down and we talk about what we got going on for the day. Weekly wise, it's going to be some type of training, or it's not always technical training for back of the house. It's not always going to be sales training for front of the house. But we look at the week past. We look at our metrics, any issues that we had. We talk about them, figure out how can we avoid this the next time. And then praises. Anybody did great the week. Anything, any shout outs, any kudos, anything we got to do to keep the team motivated and hyped, and letting your people know that you recognize them. You saw what they did. I saw you, great job on this, or whatever it may be. That goes a long way. A lot of people feel like they've been burnt out. They worked at places where people don't see them, they don't care, and it's just push. We need this done, and you have to recognize people.
In a world where you've got CEOs who are out there saying that they can't fill jobs at $120,000 a year and they can't figure it out, it sure sounds they should do a little bit of listening to some of the independent shops out there and start treating people like people, not like numbers on a spreadsheet.
But yeah, it's huge. It goes a long way, man. We celebrate birthdays, we do outings, we do a lot with the team. Just keep everybody together, keep everybody informed, and show them that we appreciate them.
That's great. You mentioned in the performance space about being a leader in that space, and you want to be the guy, and now you're talking about being the leader of a company. Tell me what that leadership transition looked like between being a leader in the industry and a leader of your own company, because I feel like those are almost two different people.
Yeah, it's for the most part, it's a huge difference, because like in the performance industry, you're a leader in that segment, like in the performance world, but like nobody in your community really knows about you or your business or what you do, because it's a small niche community. Right. But it doesn't have, some may argue that, but I don't feel it as impactful as a general repair. That's the majority of the country, the majority of the world is normal vehicles that people drive every day. Right. So transitioning to that, where we're actually building this company, was huge, because now we're out in the community. We're in chambers. I sit on the board for a local chamber here in the neighborhood. We're very boisterous. We're doing things for the community. So now you have a team that sees that and they want to be a part of that. Yeah. This shop is going somewhere. Like, I'm building this to be a legacy. This is not a one and done. God forbid, whenever I leave this earth, but it's not done. I want this to be something that continues. And that was the big thing, having people be on board and see that and want to be a part of that.
Yeah, from my point of view, it sounds like the difference between being a leader amongst your peers is treating everybody like competition, and being a leader of your company and a leader in your community is more about building a team and building something sustainable, something that's going to be a legacy piece, like you mentioned.
Correct.
You got to take yourself out of that competition mindset and open yourself up to, I don't want to be the best. I want to help other people be the best. I think that's a really important transition and a hard one to make. I think that's actually the first time we probably covered it in that level of detail here on the show. Appreciate that. I know as we transition here, I know that you talked about on our prep call how hard it is to find staff that really match your vision and your high level of standards that you have at RI, and how isolating that can feel with friends outside the industry. And I think unless you're in this industry, you could be a business owner in a lot of different spaces, but there's something unique about being an owner in this industry or being a business owner at all. How are you approaching hiring and aligning those standards today? And how are you dealing with that isolated feeling? And where are you getting involved with other people who are like-minded like you to help deal with some of those?
It's a great question. So as far as the employees, and you got to have standards. Whatever it is you do in life, there has to be standards. And finding people that align with that it's very tough. We've had to struggle with that. We got a good crew now. And a big part of that is we have to line up first from the get-go. We have to line up. And for me now, it's more hiring for personality versus skill set. And I'm not saying that you're going to hire somebody that's right off the street yet. Yeah, it's more personality. If you have the personality to where you're coachable, you can be held accountable, and all the above, that's somebody that you can build upon. And when it's the other way around, if you have all the skills in the world, but you're unapproachable and you're non-coachable, like that's very hard. And that spreads throughout the shop, because then you get to a point where people don't want to be around that person. So we had to switch our dynamic. Like we have a few heavy hitters in the shop, and then the other guys that kind of surround them are lower level guys, but they want to learn, they're trainable, and that's how we've been scaling as far as recruitment goes. Like we just hired a guy, a young man. He's 19 years old, man, but he's very well rounded with diesels, which is very rare to be that young. And he's been here going on a month, and he's been awesome. Very knowledgeable, very coachable, and that's what I want. And that's what we're trying to build our team off of. Before, it was always trying to find the A players out there, and we're still always trying to find them. But usually those guys they have a home. They're usually happy where they're at. And we're not the type of company to go around poaching people as employees. So it's finding the young guys that show they want to learn and they have that mindset, and we can work with that.
Yeah, there's two different mentalities I feel like going on there between, you can either go out and hunt down the A players or you can build homegrown talent. I feel like I'm a basketball fan from like early in the late 90s, early 2000s, Lakers and Spurs battles out on the Western Conference. And the homegrown talent that was the San Antonio Spurs versus my Lakers, who went out and brought in Shaquille O'Neal and brought in Karl Malone and Gary Payton to make a run, only to lose to the Pistons. I feel when you're going out and you're building that homegrown talent, you can make those A players. Talk me through some of the training and stuff that you guys are doing to help with building those A players internally. What are you putting in place?
So we have all my techs are enrolled, and being that we're myself enrolled in Shop Fix, so all my techs are enrolled in Tech Fix. That's something that they're on weekly, especially the greener guys. They're on it. The more seasoned guys that we have in the shop, they're constantly, I wouldn't say this part of it's not very structured, but they're always these guys are always shadowing them. So whenever they're down, they don't have something going on, they're right behind them, asking questions and learning. We do lunch and learns. So we try to do a lunch and learn once a week, and it may be a random topic, whatever it's something that we feel that they're struggling with, we'll have somebody teach on that. And the way I like to do it, somebody that's really good at something, we'll have them teach on it. And then sometimes we'll flip that around where we have the greener guys teach on the subject. It puts them on the spot, but that's how they learn. The other thing is off-site training. We got a training course coming up end of January that we're going to be sending one of our techs to. It's a scope class. So that's going to be huge because he could come back and teach that to the rest of the team. And you can do a lot with a scope nowadays. So we have it, got to be able to use it.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. So one of the things that we try to ask everybody on the show, because obviously it's important to us, we're Honest Garage Podcast. I own Honest Mechanic Marketing. The term honest means a lot to me, but I'm
Right.
curious what the term honest mechanic or honest shop owner, what does that mean to you? How do you implement it day to day throughout what you guys do? And what do you think needs to change in the industry so that we can have more honest shops around?
I mean, it's really short, man. You guys, you just got to own it. Like a lot of guys try to beat around the bush. If you mess something up, misdiagnose something, overcharge somebody, you just got to own it. Owning it goes a long way. You lose a couple $100, a couple grand, whatever it may be. The customer's going to recognize that. Your employees are going to see that. The community is going to see that because that customer is going to go out there and talk highly of you for doing that. And it all comes full circle. So it's just owning it.
I feel like there's this common like misconception or this common complaint in the industry where like we have unreasonable customers,
Right.
stuff like that. Within our company, Paul, who's the producer on the show, for those who don't know Paul yet, Paul always says that most frustrations or customer issues come from unexpressed expectations up front
Right.
and then bad communication afterwards. And I think that most customers, if you just tell them, hey, this is what happened and this is what we're going to do to fix it, they're actually pretty cool with it most of the time.
Yeah.
I think that everybody's human and we all expect, like nobody expects perfection, but they do expect you to own your mistakes, like you said.
That is for sure.
Great, man. I know we've covered a lot today. One of the things that we try to do here on the show is build connections and build a community. So is there a way that is good for people to reach out to you, stay in touch with what RI Automotive's doing, or if they saw anything that was valuable or heard anything valuable on the show today, what's the best way for them to connect, to carry on the conversation outside of what we have time for today?
Yeah, we got a couple ways we can do that. They can email me directly. It's Collin at riautomotive.net. So that's COLLIN at riautomotive.net. And they can also go to our Facebook page, follow us on there. We do quite a few posts on there, let you know what's going on in the shop. Yeah, so I'll be more than happy.
That's awesome, man. That's one of the benefits that have come out of this show that I think was a little unexpected, was that there's a lot of shop owners who are listening that man, that was, we had 3 minutes that we touched on that on the show, but I want to dig deep. Give me 6 hours.
Yeah.
Appreciate you sharing that information. And again, just a huge thanks for taking the time to be here on a Monday. We're here the week, for those who don't know, the week between Christmas and New Year's is when this recording's happening. Busy time of year. I really appreciate you taking the time, Collin, to be on the show today.
David, anytime. I appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. If you got value from the conversation, please share it with another shop owner. Subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Leave us a review. It helps us out way more than helps other honest shop owners find this show and helps us transform the industry that we all love. If you are looking for more resources or real-world marketing advice, you can obviously reach out to us at Honest Mechanic Marketing, or you can just head over to the website at honestmechanicmarketing.com. For everybody out there, thank you again for listening. We really appreciate it. And as always, keep it honest in the garage.
I met Ken, and Ken really was just more about taking care of the customers and growing the business organically that way. And I was definitely more excited about that than what I had been doing prior to that. And Ken, basically kind of in the sense just handed the keys and said, take care of the business, take care of the customers, and we've kind of grown it from there. So
in the body shop world, you get the cars dirty and dusty, so you got to do pretty much a detail on the vehicle when we're all finished, doing all the body work, all the paint work, and all that stuff. So we basically did a detailed job on the vehicle, cleaned the windows inside and out, hand washed the car, we chamoised the car dry, and then we cleaned wheels. We just made it look like a new car again.
Yeah.
Maybe not new, but a clean car.